after country comes the people who make our foundation possible. To all our members, our senior partner institutions, senior special partner institutions, corporate members, and individual members, without whom we would not be here today. The Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation is in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines, and we are a member-supported non-profit organization. If you are here today, thank you, welcome, and we're very happy to see you here today. If you are joining us 2 weeks later through our social media uploads, thank you very much. We're very happy that you can join us today, and we hope that our session brings you value. If you are working, well, today's session is quite interesting because we will be talking about data management in the seed industry, particularly for breeding. And if you are, for example, working within the seed industry, are you a plant breeder perhaps? Is this something that you've never seen before? Do you think that this technology would be something that would be very useful for you? Leave us a comment or send us an email. Our links are in the description. You can email us at hello@abcdf.org.ph. We'd be very, very happy to hear from you. If you would like to gain access to our wide network of agribusiness and countryside development organizations and professionals, or stick around for our informal sessions after these knowledge sessions to engage with the speaker directly, or you just think this is an endeavor that you'd like to support, we'd be very happy to have you on board. Send us an email, introduce yourself, and let's talk. Okay. So without further ado, may I invite the chairman of our board of trustees, Ernie Ordonez, to introduce our speakers for this morning, for this afternoon, actually. Ernie, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before that, I would like to beg your indulgence to show my special love for Israel, because before I became a secretary in 1996, 10 years before, I was in Israel as the member of a 3-person delegation. I was then an undersecretary. That was the first delegation to Israel after 20 years. And we were in the house of the Prime Minister, Shimon Peres, and he said to me and my 2 companions that he had heard that people wanted to be governors and doctors and etc. And one small boy said, when I grow up, I want to be a Filipino, because that was the time the Filipinos did a peaceful revolution followed by many countries. Today, when I talk to a young person, just as these people said they want to be Filipinos, now they say, when I grow up, I want to be an Israelite because of the fantastic Israel miracles that they did on barren land. And right now, Israel, therefore, to me, is a fantastic country, especially in agriculture. And our young agricultural people, when they grow up, they want to be Israelized, right? Because they're so good. So on that note, I want to introduce our 2 speakers. There's Atzmon. He's a vice president of business development of Phenome Networks. But more importantly, he's an accomplished global business development manager, and he exceeds goals in multiple environments, right? And then he has leadership qualities in strategic planning, which our country needs badly. Expert in the consultative sales approach, which we need. It's consultative, not leading the farmers behind, but having them involved. And formerly university professor at marketing in Derby University. Well, on that note, I'd like to say that Israel being my favorite country for agriculture, I'd like to say I'm looking forward to this, and especially a telecast from Israel. What a fantastic honor. So Atzmon, thank you for coming. On that note, I give it back to our president, Julius Barcelona. Julius?
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that, Ernie. And so just as a full disclaimer, I am the president of the foundation, but I also need to make a few disclaimers just to make sure. I am also a member of the Israel Chamber of Commerce here in the Philippines, and Phenome Networks, the company of Erez and Forrest, has reached out to me previously with the intent of business development in the Philippines. So full disclosure, just in case anybody might think that there may be a certain conflict of interest, I just want to be very, very clear about my relationship with Erez and with Forrest and with Phenome Networks. Okay, and but this does not detract from the fact that I do truly believe that Phenome Networks technology will be something that is of huge value, especially to agribusiness and countryside development in the Philippines. And I think Erez and Forrest will be the best ones in explaining how that will work, especially with the as a way to further develop our seed breeding and varietal development here in the Philippines. So I'm very pleased also to recognize the presence of some very, very important friends from the seed industry. Ms. Flor Carandang from the Institute of Plant Breeding of the Philippines under the University of Philippines, Los Baños. Seed Industry Council of the Philippines, the regulatory body that governs seed breeding and production here in the Philippines, and our friends from the Philippine Seed Industry Association, Ms. Bing Dewata, Tark Patlima from Rijksvan, and I think some others will be joining us as we continue to go along. Anyway, yes, so without further ado, Erez, Forrest, I'll turn the floor over to you. Thank you. Erez, please. Forrest, go ahead.
Well, first of all, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Good afternoon, I apologize. As Julius said, it's 9:15 here in Israel. By means of introduction, Forrest Jackson is one of our team here in Israel, but he's originally from Oregon in the United States on the Western Hemisphere. We're very happy and honored that he joined our team over 1 year ago, and he's a valued member of my team. And again, I want to convey my apologies on behalf of Mrs. Semmel. She actually, she fell ill. She did not come to work yesterday, and this morning she informed me that she's unable to attend. Obviously, she will be informed of all the proceedings in this meeting, and she will be in charge of continuing the conversation. One more thing, if I may, by means of prayer, I was very moved, and I think it really touched me that you start your sessions with a prayer. And without going into politics or anything of the likes, I would like to add my personal prayer that all the hostages that are being kept as we speak right now in the cellars underground in Gaza Strip will be released. I'm not going to go politics, and I'm not going to say who's right, who's wrong. I just care for my over 130 country members of mine that are children, women, old people that are being kept in the dark for over 130 days, I think almost 150 days in cellars as hostages. So my prayer is for peace in the region and for the release of the hostages. And I'm not going to go any further. Julius, dear Julius, may we start with professional content now?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So, sharing my screen in presentation mode. Hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, I think we're good. Okay,
beautiful.
Please.
So my only two requests is the following. First of all, I tend to speak too fast, and I apologize for that. If I do speak too fast, please feel free to stop me at any time. And also, on the same token, if anybody has any questions, anything that isn't clear, any clarifications that need to be done, or any comments, please, please, please stop me. I would much rather make this a conversation, an open conversation, rather than a lecture. I used to teach university, but I much rather talk to people than to hear my own voice. So the main topic of this presentation is about data management. I can tell you that I come from many years in business development in many areas, including high-tech, fintech, cyber fintech, a lot of big fancy names. And when I thought about data management, it seemed like a dull subject. It's a little boring. Data management, what's there to do in the data management? I can tell you that after immersing myself in this industry, it's actually very fascinating. There's tremendous value to be gained from a good data management platform, and I will explain. And one last thing that comes to mind, I actually went through a very small medical procedure a week ago. Myself, and going to the hospital to do this procedure. It's all good. It's nothing major. The lady that was accepting me as an inpatient started filling all these forms and clicking on the computer and running through files after files after files. And I was like, how many trees are we burning right now to just accept me for a simple inpatient procedure? And she was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. The data management that we use is obsolete. And in my mind, I was already thinking, how can a good data management platform benefit the Israeli medical profession? But for now, let's move on with data management for the seed industry. Actually, it's not what you thought. So let's start with the current situation in the field, literally, in the agricultural field and in the field itself, in the playing field out there. How do you currently actually collect observations? A lot of companies are using pen and paper to collect observations. They go to the field with a notebook and a pen and collect the observations. The obvious question is, what happens if it rains? Pen and paper are not rain resistant. Where's all the data? You collect the data, where did it all go? Then how do you take pictures? The agricultural industry relies a lot on the looks of the fruit, the vegetable, the seed. How do you take pictures? Today, you use cameras or even your phone, but how do you actually connect the picture that you took to the actual data? And I have to apologize. I hear there's a background noise. I actually live next to, I work from home today due to the procedure that I went through. And I live next to a small airport. So how do you actually connect the picture that you took in the field with your SLR camera or your phone to the seed? Then once you've collected all the data, a lot of companies actually upload them to Excel. I think maybe you know this. But the question is, how do you back up all the data and how do you connect 100 Excel spreadsheets to each other? And how many errors in this process of connecting, uploading, and so on? And then the data that you've collected a lot of data, you have the data, but you need to share them. I mean, I have the data because I collected it, but I need to share it with somebody who maybe works remotely in a completely different location. How do you share the information? And finally, how do you actually connect and analyze data that is dispersed between different Excel spreadsheets? So this would be the main problem right now with current situation in this field. I want to stop and ask, is there any questions for me about what I've shown so far? Okay, then let's move on. And the last point that I want to make is unification of data. This word actually is crucial, crucial. I'll give you a very small example. If I want to check for size of the fruit, and I say the size of fruit would be between small, medium, large, extra large, extreme. That's 5, right? So I scale between 1 and 5, and I go out there and I take observations. Forest, on the other hand, just think it's very okay to say small, medium, large, a scale of 1 to 3. Once we've completed the observation taking, and we've done an excellent job, Forrest and myself, there is no way to get any analytical value from this data because I collected 1 to 5, Forrest collected 1 to 3. The unification of data is crucial so that afterwards we'll be able to actually analyze all the data. And if there are any questions, I would love to answer them. But I can tell you that as somebody that have gone through 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 statistical courses during my studies, if you don't have a unified set of data, it's actually worthless, unfortunately. So there must be a better way to handle all of that data. So let's look at that. I actually went and studied a little bit. I'm not an expert on the Philippines, as I'm sure you are, but looking at the Philippines from a bird's eye view, I noticed that there are some problematic situations in the Philippines. Namely, I noticed that there's a problem of low productivity. The Philippines has wide and large fields, but the yield per space is not optimal. And that brings lower productivity, and that brings to lower revenues, and and then you can't feed the population. Then you have limited access to technology, to modern technology. Also, I think climate change, especially in that region, is affecting the crops severely, much more than in other regions of the world. Access to funding is limited. And from what I saw, there's a need for affordable solutions. Would anybody like to comment on this, please?
Perhaps, are there any comments from the audience? Or do we continue first before getting into the questions?
Okay, then I will continue.
All right, please go ahead.
So I believe, of course, one of the solutions, obviously it's not going to solve all of the problems, but one of the main contributing factor that you can introduce into the agricultural field in the Philippines is a next generation data platform. Let me explain. The definition of a next generation data platform means it's an end-to-end platform. It needs to solve the entire life cycle of breeding all the way to market. And I will explain a little bit further down the road in this presentation, excuse me. And you can use a next generation data platform to drive innovation into the Filipino seed industry. You can boost productivity, you can make more money, or more yield out of the space that you have available. And you can also introduce advanced genomic research, which is not available if you're not using a next generation data platform. So that is the definition. Now, I want to apologize in advance. Maybe this will be redundant to some of the participants in this conversation today, but I want to introduce the concept of breeding. What is actually breeding? What are we talking about? By the way, breeding is one of the oldest professions in humanity. It was actually started in the early stages of the agricultural revolution. So when the very ancient humans, Homo sapiens, when they moved from being hunters to gatherers and started planting wheat, they actually already started the very basic breeding. But let's look at breeding basically. What does it mean? We take a male parent and a female parent, let's say a father corn and a mother corn, and we cross them, we breed them, we cross them together, and we actually create a baby corn, a new genetic material. I actually think about it as a male parent and a female parent in humans. I have 2 kids. So myself and my wife created our son, and we hope that the next generation, the new genetic material, gets the good attributes from both parents. This is our hope as parents. So once we took a daddy corn and a mommy corn and crossed them together, and we created a new breed of corn, a new variety of corn, then we need to collect observations. Is the corn big, small, yellow, white? yield, sweetness level, which called bricks, and so on. All of this is called phenotyping, taking the physical attributes of the seed of the new variety. Then you also run genomic analysis, sometimes, not always. This is called genotyping. And then you analyze. You compare different genotypics, different phenotypics, and you make all the analytics, and you repeat. So you do this multiple times. So this is the basic concept of breeding. Any questions so far? Okay, then either I'm making a good deal, or everybody already knows this. And I apologize if I know some of you I'm boring, and I apologize for that, but it's important for me that we are all on the same page. So this is a very simple process. What's the problem? The problem is that when you take many such processes, you actually create enormous amounts of information, of data. Imagine, if you will, I have 50 male corn parents and 50 female corn parents. And I want to cross them. I want to try to see what is the best combination between male and female. Just in this experiment, I created 50 times 50, 2,500 new genetic materials. And now, if I want to actually understand what I've created, I need to go and do the phenotyping. I need to go and see which variety, which new genetic material created what, how did it perform, what is the yield, what is the color, what is the size, and so on. And I need to collect all the genotypic traits and analyze. And I need to do this 2,500 times. And this is one experiment in generation 1. And just to give you a hint, when we're talking about the process of breeding, many times we reach generation 7 or generation 8. So again, the problem is enormous amounts of data that we need to actually store and handle. This is the main problem that our company is looking to overcome. Any questions, please?
I get the feeling that
Okay,
our colleagues from the seed industry are definitely wincing
understanding
at
this.
the difficulty of it so far. But please go ahead, Erez.
Wincing is a good word. I like it. Yeah, there is a problem. So when we're looking at data at next generation, you will see all these beautiful words, pathogens, predictive, artificial intelligence, and so on. All of these are a part of what the next generation platform needs to provide for the researcher, for the breeder. So let's talk about this. When a company or an organization usually thinks about acquiring a data management platform, because there is a problem, as we have just discussed, usually the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, would say, okay, it's an expense. I need to buy, give me 1 second. My wife is on the phone. 1 second, please. Sorry about that.
Go ahead, no problem. So while we're waiting for Erez to respond to his wife,
About that, yeah.
yes. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. So, a necessary expense. You see, a company needs to buy a table, 2 desks, 2 chairs, and a data management platform. We actually found, through our many years in business, that a good well-devised data management platform would produce great investment and great return on that investment, great ROI. And in business, excuse me, this is what we're looking for. So how does a data management platform produces great ROI? We found that there is a short-term gain to be had and also a long-term gain to be had. On the short term, in the short term, a data management platform would cut your costs. It will save you money. It will make your people better working, more efficient, more effective. And a lot of the times we see that they're actually more happy because, and I will explain a little bit in a few minutes, but if you make your people more efficient and more effective, they actually are more happy. So you will save money and you will make your people more happy. Then for the researcher, for the breeder, you will make better decisions because the ugly words in research is garbage in, garbage out. The quality of research depends on the quality of the data. Like I explained before, but it's much more elaborate. If you base your research on not optimal data, you will reach non-optimal solutions. You need to rely on good data. And if you make better decisions, most of the times that will lead to faster go-to-market time. That will save you money and make you money and make you more, again, efficient and effective in your operations. And lastly, you will make your data collection more efficient. You will acquire more data, better data in less time. I will explain. So all of these are ways to create great return on your investment in the short term. Now let's talk about the long term. When we are facing the future, we want to create a better agricultural industry. And one of the buzzwords these days is genomic and marker-assisted breeding. If you ever want to indulge in marker-assisted breeding, you have to have all the information stored on a next generation data management platform. Otherwise, it's not possible. By the way, the sheer volume of genomic research negates Excel. You need to store a lot of information and make all of that information available to the artificial intelligence algorithms to run the next generation of breeding. Are there any questions about this? This is very important. This is future facing. And by the way, a lot of the big global companies are already doing this. This is not future. It's actually today. Any questions?
I think we'll be saving most of our questions for the end.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I think we can, yeah. Okay.
So
Please continue.
one more thing about the long term. It will reduce your legal risks, which is important. There's a lot of international laws about genetic and intellectual property rights. For instance, if somebody from the Philippines took a variety, a genetic material from a tomato that was introduced in Japan, they actually need to pay royalties to Japan. I'm saying this is a very basic rule. There was some contention. I don't want to go into that. But the legal risk, you are liable to get sued if you don't adhere to these rules. Also, it's important to secure your intellectual property. You have all this data. The data is the valuation of the company. You want to make sure that no data is ever lost. And you want to showcase your achievements to potential buyers. the main goal of a breeding company is at the end of the day to introduce a new variety and get paid. If you want to get paid, you need to be able to show how you created the new genetic material. So all of these would be the return, the ways for you to get return on your investment in the long term. And I'm going to move forward. You know what? I think this is a good place to stop for a minute before we move on. Any questions, please?
Okay, I think maybe we can take one question. Perhaps I can
Please.
invite our friends from the seed industry or from the Institute of Plant Breeding or the National Seed Industry Council or any of our other members who might be interested in
Happy
asking
to answer
questions about
questions.
this. Okay. Since I'm not hearing any, maybe we can proceed first.
Okay,
Erez?
sure.
All right,
Sure.
sure, go ahead.
Okay. So we understood there was a problem and there needs to be a better solution. Now, let's look at the needs from a next generation data management platform. So what you would want is, first of all, keep your data secured. The security of the data, you see, a company, this would be like the best example I can give is the rights to the formula to Coca-Cola. See, if anybody ever found that very peculiar formula, the Coca-Cola company would lose its asset because the main asset is the formula of how to create the meaning of life drink. So for a company, a breeding company, the security of the data is of utmost importance. You want to make sure that you never lose any information. So you want to keep the data safe and you want to back the data up so you never lose it. Then you need the data to be available. What does that mean? You have all of that data. It is stored maybe on Excel, maybe on pen and paper, maybe wherever it is. But the research needs access to all of that data in order to do his job. And he may be in the office, he may be in the field, he may be on the way to his home, he may be at home. He needs to have access to that data at all times. That calls for what is very common today, working on the cloud to make sure that you can access the data at any point. Then you need to be scalable. You see, it's easy to create a platform that will serve 10 breeders working in 3 fields. But what happens when you have 100 breeders or 1,000 breeders and you have all of that information? You need to make sure that the data platform can handle any load of data and any number of users, because maybe 50 people, 50, or maybe 500 people need to work at the same time. The platform needs to handle all of that demand for its services. Then you have to have, this is a must, an easy data collection mechanism. As I mentioned before, phenotyping, going in the field and taking observations is crucial. And this needs to be streamlined and done as efficiently, effectively, and cost-effectively as possible. And you need to be, connectivity talks about the need to connect to any other devices. And I'm sure the breeding experts here are familiar. There are more and more and more devices that are used today to collect observations, naming a few. In the ground devices, looking for things like moisture level. Above ground, looking at things like temperature, humidity, and so on. Drones, satellites, many different types of devices that are collecting data for the researcher. So the data management platform has to be able to connect to all of this data. To all of these, devices. And last, the data management platform needs to be intuitive and easy. And this is very important because what we found out is that many people in the agricultural industry are, I want to say, old school. They have their ways of doing things, and they're used to the ways of doing things, and they don't like to change. So you need a data management platform that will be easy to use so that the transformation from the old ways to the new way is as easy as possible. The platform needs to be easy to implement and easy to use. And I hope that makes sense to you. So until now, I have discussed the situation as we know it and what the data management platform is and what are the requirements. Now I want to move to the second phase and introduce Phenome Networks, our company, and what we can offer. I want to ask at this point, any questions so far, or may I move on?
I think we can proceed, Erez? Sure, no problem.
No problem. So Phenome Networks today, as I think dear Julius explained in the beginning, we are today the global leading data management platform specifically created for the seed industry. This is outdated. We've not 15 years in business. We are 16 years in business. And we are currently working with over 150 customers all over the world. And we're servicing the needs of over 2,500 users. I will show you an example in a minute. And I want to take a brief minute to introduce the co-founders of our business. You see, on the right, we have Professor Danny Zamir. He is a leading researcher, many, many years in business, in research. And he's actually the recipient of the very prestigious Israel Prize. This is the highest honor in Israel. And he received that honor for his research in agricultural technology and plant sciences, by the way, primarily in tomatoes. If we have with us today anybody from the vegetable industry, most of them all over the world know Professor Zamir. On the left side, Dr. Semmel, Yaniv Semmel, PhD, is our co-founder and CEO. And he's actually a computer engineer that made a very sharp turn and finished his PhD in plant sciences under Professor Zamir. And then they created Phenome Networks together to answer the needs of this industry. Now, when we say we are the global leader, it's not just me saying so. These are just a few of the businesses and organizations that work with us all over the world. And I'm sure you can recognize some familiar faces. To name a few, our biggest client today is BASF. It's a global, one of the big 5 global companies. We work with East West Seeds, Sakata, British American Tomato, Enza Zaden. Also, many nonprofits, including the biggest nonprofit in the world, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, are working with our platform. Universities like the University of Florida and UC Davis. In the Far East, we're working with the World Vegetable Center, based out of Taiwan. I'm not sure if the World Vegetable Center has any research centers in the Philippines. I know they're in Taiwan, in Thailand, in India, and many other locations in the region. Also, if you know these companies or any of those, you would see that we work with any type of crop. So any type of company, any size of company, and any type of crop. So vegetables, fruits, trees, berries, field crops, corn, soy, rice, all the way to cannabis. Mr. Ernesto, any questions? You're muted. Sir, you're muted. Sorry.
I am glad to listen to such wisdom. Please continue.
Of course. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your kind words. So let me introduce our solution to all the problems and all the specifications that I've just mentioned. So what you see in front of you, PhenomeOne is our main platform. And even though it's a small circle, it holds tremendous value just by itself. So, excuse me for the background noise. So PhenomeOne is the main platform. It's in the best words I can call it, it's a repository of data. It is cloud-based, hosted on Amazon Web Services, and it can hold any amount of data. So a company or a research organization or a university can upload to the cloud all of the data from 5 years, from 10 years, from 50 years. All the data would be stored in a single location, completely secured and backed up every day. So for the company, for the organization, it can never lose any information ever again. All the data is stored in a way that makes sense to the organization and completely secure. That by itself holds tremendous value. Now, as is common with cloud, it is actually online platform. What that means is that you can access the data all the time from anywhere. So you can be in your office working on your desktop. You can be at home working on your laptop. You can be on an airplane, on a train, in the field with your own mobile device. Wherever you are, if you have online connectivity, you can access the data and you can do your work. All you need, log in and password. So this is the value that cloud gives the people, the researchers. So on the platform, you would hold all your data, you will have access to the data at all times, and you will plan your experiment, run your experiment, gather all the data to the cloud, so you'll be able to analyze all the data. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold. It's the changing of seasons in Israel, and it's affecting me. So all of that is the main system. Now, on top of that, as I mentioned before, you need a data gathering mechanism. So we introduced Phenotop, our mobile application that we have devised ourselves. So you get a mobile application. So the person in the field going to do the phenotyping, going to collect observations, takes their own mobile device. You don't need to buy anything. Don't need to buy any machinery or anything. You go with your own mobile device with the login and password. You look at the plant, you look at the flower, you look at the corn, soy, whatever it is, and you just, by simply clicking on the device, you collect the observations. It's easy, it's fast, and it makes sure that the data is, you don't have mistakes, no errors. Also, obviously, when you're using a mobile device, you have the built-in camera. So you take as many pictures as you want. Now, once you press save and go to next, all of the data goes from the mobile device, uploads to the cloud, and is stored in perpetuity forever, never to be lost. A few more issues. Sometimes the person using the mobile device to collect observations is in a remote field somewhere, and there's no connectivity. Not a problem. The device would work perfectly, online or offline. So like I mentioned, if you have connectivity, press save and go to next. All the data goes to the cloud. But if you're working in a remote field somewhere and there's no connectivity, no problem. All the data will be stored on the device. And then when the person starts going back home or to the office and the device has connectivity, all the data gets uploaded to the cloud. So data collection is easy, it's fast, it's efficient, no mistakes. And one more issue. All the people taking observations, it can be one person did this farm in the Philippines, another person in another farm, one person is in India, another in Japan, wherever they are. They all use the same application. They're collecting data with the same attributes, same variables. And the researcher in advance decided on the scales, like I mentioned before. For instance, everybody collects data about scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this takes care of the unification of the data. And once you have all of the data, large amounts of data, no mistakes from different places, everything unified, that provides large sets of data, completely unified. You get better research, and the results make sense, and they are better results based on better data. We get a lot of praise for the mobile device. It is a game changer for breeding and research organizations. So we allowed you to gather information, store all the information, and then we also allow you to analyze all the information. We provide a wide variety of analytical and statistical tools to enable you to analyze the data, to make sure that you can compare how different varieties, different genetic materials did in different seasons, different locations, different fields, many different analytical tools. I don't want to go into that right now. I'll show you some examples in a minute. So we enable you to gather information, store the information, and analyze them. Then we provide an inventory management module that is very important in the seed industry to manage what is known as bags of seeds. Very simple. You collect seeds, you put them in bags, you need to manage the bags of seeds. And we have a module called PLC, Product Lifecycle, that allows the company to take the platform all the way to, the seeds all the way to the end, to the market, basically. I'm not going to go technical here. It's redundant for the sake of this conversation. So this is the platform that Phenome Networks provides to the seed industry. But we're not done. As I mentioned before, connectivity, the ability to connect to other devices is key, is crucial. So we connect easily and seamlessly with the click of a button to Excel and CSV files, and also to barcodes and QR codes. So you see, when the person in the field uses the mobile device, he can go to a plant or a plot, it's known, scan a barcode or QR code, the screen comes up, and he does phenotyping. Go save and go to next. Scans a barcode, phenotype. Scan a barcode, phenotype. Makes his job easier, and again, fewer or no mistakes. So we connect to Excel, CSV, barcodes, and QR codes. More than that, if it's a big company that has an ERP system platform, like SAP or Oracle, we can connect to that with the use of APIs. APIs are like ports for computers to be able to talk to each other. So it can connect to an ERP system and also to any measuring devices. Like I mentioned, above ground, on the ground, in the ground, humidity, moisture level, temperature, salinity of the ground, and so on. No problem, we can connect to that. Satellite imagery, drone imagery, all can be connected and gathered. And actually, any other device that you can think of, we can connect to with the use of APIs. And lastly, everything is secured. Everything is on the cloud. I did mention that, but every company or organization working with us has its own environment on Amazon Web Services. So we never share any information or any data or anything between companies, because as I mentioned, the data is your intellectual property. So every company has its own environment. We keep it completely secured on Amazon. And we actually went beyond Amazon security measures, and we are currently implementing the International Standardization Organization Code 27001. That is the data security protocol. So this is our solution, Phenome Networks' solution to the situation. Any questions about this slide? Okay, so let's look at a few examples. I'm not going to take you into the platform. I don't think that's necessary. I just want to show you a few examples of the richness of the data that we collect and how easy it is to work with our platform. So when we're talking about a specific germplasm, a specific genetic material, specific variety, these are all the details that we hold on each germplasm. So you see, this is the general, the summary page. You see, we have all the germplasm data, all the data about the seed, all the experiments that were this germplasm was a part of, and all the pictures that the people in the field took with the mobile device. So in a single location, you get all of this information about your entire data. You can reach any germplasm, any genetic material, and get all of this data. Now, the next two slides are actually my favorite in this entire presentation. You see, if you look at the top, this is the germplasm data. And you see we have summary, and then pedigree tree, and then observations, and then inventory of a specific seed. So let's move on to the next page, next tab. This is the pedigree table. And again, I don't want to go into technical details here. Some of you are not readers, and I don't want this to be boring. But like humans, you see, I have my parents have my grandparents, and so on. It's like a tree. It's called a pedigree tree. So here you see all the pedigree tree of a specific germplasm. You see it's in blue, UFP F2100, never mind the naming convention. And you can see above the line, there's a blue line in the middle. Above the line is the ancestors of this germplasm. And below the line is the offsprings of this specific germplasm. And you can see the advancement of attributes throughout the generations. And this is the pedigree chart. And when I show this to breeders, this is where I get, wow, we did not know this is available. Let me explain. You see, the yellow circle is the germplasm that I want to inspect. Above this germplasm is the ancestors. Again, just like humans, imagine your own family tree. There's you, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and so on. And below the yellow line, that is the offspring. And we have details of hybrids, selections. There's many more details and data from this pedigree chart. And this pedigree chart is available to your researcher on your entire data at all times. This makes a breeder's work much better. You can reach better decisions much faster. This is the way that you collect observations. This is a tablet view. You see, you have easy data collection, and in the bottom, take pictures. This is the way that you create a map. And again, I don't want to bore you here, but when you go to create a field map, this is a very new feature for us. It's the easiest possible to create a field map. Don't want to bore you here. And this is just a few samples of our analytical tool. This is a box plot. Not going to go there, but there are many statistical and analytical tools that we offer. This is environment by variety that you can compare. A bar plot, which is very useful. A normalized multiple trait variable. You see the line 0 is the average. And then every color that's above the line is positive. Every color that's below the line is negative. And you see different varieties. Again, I can explain, but it's very technical. And this is a multiple trait heat map. This is interesting because in one single view, you can compare how different varieties did in different attributes. So this is very useful for the researcher when it comes down to making decisions. What is the best variety? And this concludes, I think we had an hour and 15 minutes. It took me an hour and 5 minutes, so I'm pretty okay. I'm happy to take any questions, please.
Okay, thank you very much for everything. Sorry, the event here at the European Chamber has started, but I'll stay here for a little bit longer. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Erez. And yes, definitely something that is a little bit more technical, but hopefully our colleagues from the seed industry will have quite the appreciation for the information that you presented. I see that Ernie is unmuted. Ernie, do you want to say something? Yeah.
Yeah. Is he staying with us for one more hour, or does he have to go?
One second. Julius, can you mute yourself? I cannot hear Ernie.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, Ernie, I apologize.
Eric, are you with us for 2 more minutes or 1 more hour? How much more time?
I have an hour, and if we need an hour and 30 minutes, it'll be an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay, no, an hour is fine. We thank you very much. Julius, I'll be here for the next hour. So when you go in and out, I'll be with him all the time.
So thank you very much to everyone and to our speakers for a very informative and highly technical session. Again, if you are a member of the food industry or a plant breeder, or this technology is interesting to you, do leave us a comment below so that we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. I do apologize for the background noise. I am working with another event simultaneously with this. But anyway, so first of all, we'd like to present our certificate of appreciation to our speaker for this morning, for this day, Mr. Erez Atzmon. So can we please just present that for a little bit? All right. So the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation, in partnership with the Management Association of the Philippines, with our special partner institutions, senior special partner institutions, corporate members, and individual members, all present our certificate of appreciation to Erez Atzmon, and of course, our best wishes to Yael Sanel for a quick recovery, for his invaluable support in the advocacy and promotion of agribusiness and countryside development, and for his commendable and unselfish services rendered to this foundation as our research speaker given on our 10th weekly online meetings of 2024, given the second day of April 2024 in Makati City, Philippines. Signed Ernie Ordonez as our chairman and myself as the president. And I'd like to invite everyone to please turn on your video for group photo, please. So cameras on, everyone. Big smiles.
Outplacement is very different from outsourcing. Outplacement is we deal with people who are really
Yes, Vicky, our friends from the National Seed Industry Council, Jinky, if we could have a quick photo. All right, Elsa. Oh, okay. Jinky doesn't have cam. Bing, Vicky. All right. So, Bien, can you count us in, please?
All right po, sir. Smile on three. We only have one page po. 1, 2, 3. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you very much. And for those of you who are looking forward to our next session, our speaker for our next session is actually from Cargill, Philippines. She is the head of their corporate social responsibility, Miss Jennifer Sabianan, and she will be talking to us in our next session about Cargill's corporate social responsibility projects in community development in rural areas of the country. So it's a very, very exciting program, especially with Cargill Philippines' great reach, especially in the field of poultry here in the Philippines and livestock here in the Philippines. So we hope that that is a topic that will be of interest to you. So unfortunately, as I have mentioned earlier, if you are joining us 2 weeks later through our social media uploads, this is the extent of what you can get for free. And even though you won't be able to join us for our informal sessions where we continue to talk with the speaker, we hope that today's session has given you some value. Again, if you are someone who works in the seed industry, you are a plant breeder, or you believe that Phenome Networks technology can be something of great benefit to you, do send us an email. Our email is hello@abcdf.org.ph. You can send us an email even if you're not from the Philippines. I think we'd be very happy to hear from you and to connect you to Phenome Networks for any of, if you are interested in the technology. Leave us a comment, like, and subscribe, and we hope that you'll be able to join us for our next session. But again, as I've mentioned, the Agribusiness and Countryside Development Foundation is a member-supported non-profit organization. It is only through the generosity of our members we're able to bring you our sessions every week. If this at all interests you or you'd like to support our work, consider joining us as a member. We'd be very happy to have you on board. In any case, we'll see you in our next session. Have a good day and goodbye.